Marla Reyes had been many people. Maybe too many. As the train carried her eastward through the snow-choked plains and into the skeletal urban arteries of Washington, D.C., she stared into the dark glass and wondered not who she was, but how many people were still buried inside her. They had taken everything from her. Her name, her face, her past, but not her will. That, somehow, had survived every overwrite. The red key Caleb Wynn gave her was unlike anything she'd ever seen, coded with DNA. No markings. Reyes knew what it was. An access token for a server vault deep beneath the Capitol. Not public, not even military. This was Silencer Core, an archive of everyone who had ever been burned, reprogrammed, or erased. It was where ghosts went to rest, and where Reyes now came to resurrect them. She reached the vault at 2:17 a.m. The hallway had no cameras, only biometric locks and a steel door with a retinal scanner. She pressed the key to the scanner. It hissed. Unlocked. The vault beyond was massive, cold. Cables like veins ran along the ceiling, pulsing with blue data light. In the center, a glass sphere containing a single, humming machine. And on its display, Session 2 active, Reyes, M. She accessed her own file. Subject, Reyes, Marla. Overwritten 3x. Original clearance, Omega Black. 3 overwrites. She wasn't just compromised. She was a puppet master's playground. But who was holding the strings? Suddenly the lights dimmed. A voice echoed from overhead. Welcome home, Phoenix. Or so she'd been told. You broke containment, he said. But that's not why you're here. You're here because we need you to burn again. Reyes raised her weapon. Her hand didn't shake. I'm done burning. But Kent just smiled. There's a third session. You're in it now. Every step since Cheyenne, Caleb, the train, all orchestrated. You're not breaking the program, Marla. You're inside it. It wasn't real. But it felt real. Her mind fractured like a mirror struck with a hammer. Every identity screaming. The Ember Protocol wasn't just a method. It was a virus. And she was patient zero. A girl in a lab, strapped to a chair, a woman watching her. Whispers of Phoenix Nest. A room on fire. Her own voice shouting a name she'd never known. She wasn't a recruit. She was the prototype. Kent moved to initiate a final wipe. But Reyes had already removed the processor. It was never just about memory. Detective Marla Reyes had escaped the bunker, but something stayed with her. A hum in the back of her mind, like a tune she couldn't place. She hadn't slept in 3 days. Not because she was afraid, but because every time she closed her eyes she saw fire. Not flames. Flashes. Of something that didn't feel like her life, but felt like her memories. Day 3 since the tower. No digital trail. No car. No calls in or out. I'm still me, I think. But I saw something in that feed. Someone else. Wearing my face. Saying my name. She had one lead left. A name scribbled on a ripped notebook page she found taped to the underside of the bunker. S. Lone Chair. Ember. Protocol. At first, she thought it was a trigger word. But a cross-reference in declassified MKUltra documents revealed something older. Something buried. A Black Ops training experiment from 1983 known as the Ember Protocol. Designed as a failsafe. If a spy became compromised, if their mind fractured or their mission drifted, the Ember Protocol would be triggered. What was it? Total personality overwrite. A full burn of identity. Memories replaced. Ethics rebooted. Morality deleted. The kind of psychological napalm no one ever came back from. The name scratched on the back. Wynn, Caleb. He wasn't just a victim. He was the first Ember. Reyes traced a path to a hidden lab beneath an old VA hospital outside Cheyenne, Wyoming. Half condemned, but the power still worked. In the sub-basement, a steel door. Inside, cryogenic tanks, data terminals, and something impossible. Rows of identities. Literally. USB-like drives labeled not by file numbers, but by names. Caleb Wynn. Marcus T. Halley. Reyes, Marla. She froze. Her name. She pulled the drive. The screen lit up. Subject, Marla Reyes, cleared for overwrite. Initiate memory cleanse, YN. Her hands trembled. Her breath caught in her throat. Was she just another copy? Before she could answer, the terminal flickered, and a voice echoed from the darkness. You were never the original, Marla. She spun around. Caleb Wynne stood in the doorway. Older now, tired, but unmistakably real. They burned us both. You just don't remember yet. He handed her a photo. A group of agents standing in front of a red door. The silencer division. She recognized none of them, except herself. Younger, smiling, and next to Caleb. They called it Phoenix Nest, a sanctuary for clean slates. We were embered and reassigned. But you broke protocol. You remembered. Reyes didn't know whether to scream or collapse. Her world had shattered too many times. But then Caleb did something unexpected. He handed her a key. It's time to finish this. There's one last server, one last truth, and it's in the capital. As the train departed, her phone buzzed. A single message. You passed Session 1. Session 2 begins now. She looked up at her reflection in the train window. It blinked. She didn't. A familiar name lit the screen. Wynne, Caleb. Tier 7. Agent. A subfolder titled Deterrence Sequences showed years of psychological training simulations. Torture tolerance, sleep deprivation, personality fragmenting, and then a file simply named Exit Protocol, full red. She clicked it. Reyes's face lit by red monitor glow. Audio of Caleb Wynne speaking calmly. If you're seeing this, I've either failed or succeeded in a way no one predicted. The mind is programmable. The truth is negotiable. But what they don't understand is the noise. The noise always returns. Suddenly, the screen glitched. Static. Then, a live feed. Of Reyes. Someone was watching her. The screen began cycling through surveillance footage. Her home, her car, her childhood house in San Diego. A voiceover, Wynne's, whispered through the speaker. Your memory is next. All lights in the facility cutting out at once. A red emergency beacon flashes behind Reyes. She bolted. As she reached the exit, her phone buzzed. No number. Just a message. They erased Denver. Do you want to know how? Coordinates followed. Back in her car, she researched. An old military school once stood in Denver. Burned down in 1996. Official story, electrical fire. But no autopsy reports. No survivors, no news footage. It was a ghost town event. And it was the first confirmed use of the silencer protocols on U.S. soil. Reyes had never felt smaller, or more afraid. This wasn't just a conspiracy, it was an operation. She followed the coordinates to an abandoned radio tower in the Rockies. Deep snow, static in the air. Beneath it she found a bunker. Inside, a single chair, facing a screen. A message appeared. Marla Reyes, Session 1 of 7, initiating reconditioning. She ran. Her car was gone. Footprints surrounded the bunker entrance, not hers. And in the snow behind her, scrawled in blood, the silencer remembers. By the time the third body dropped, the press had caught wind of the whispers. But they weren't calling him the silencer yet. To the media, he was just a shadow. A chilling footnote in police reports. But for Detective Marla Reyes, the pattern had already taken shape. It was a message, one that kept repeating. The first was Brian Thompson, political player, deeply embedded in the world of lobbying and quiet influence. The second, Eleanor Price, was found 2 nights later in Georgetown, a former intelligence analyst, retired, discreet. But someone had gone through her files before shooting her execution style in her own study. No sign of forced entry, no cameras, just the same detail left behind. A red ace of spades tee, this time pinned to her throat with a thumbtack. No DNA, no prints, just a chill in the air and a body cooling on the hardwood floor. Reyes knew what this meant. This was bigger than a single murder. This was a list, and someone was crossing names off. She dug deeper into Eleanor's past, combing through declassified archives, redacted case files, old surveillance tapes. There was a recurring name Eleanor had flagged years ago. tied to a covert domestic program shut down before it ever became public. It was known internally as Project Ember. Its details still classified. But Reyes found one breadcrumb, a location, a safe house tucked away in rural Maryland, long thought abandoned. Reyes didn't tell anyone. No backup, no feds, just her and a loaded Glock. She arrived at the cabin under cover of night. The door was cracked open, no lights inside. As she stepped through, the floor creaked beneath her boots. Dust coated every surface, except one desk. It had been used recently. A laptop, wiped clean. A half-burned file folder, still smoking. And on the floor, a third red ace of spades, folded in half. Reyes bent down and opened the card. On the inside, written in blocky black ink, "You're late." Suddenly, a floorboard snapped behind her. She spun, gun raised, but there was nothing. No sound, no breath. Just the trees outside whispering secrets. The silencer had been there, watching her. He'd known she would come. This wasn't a cat-and-mouse game. It was a trap. And she just stepped into it. Back at HQ, Reyes laid out everything on a corkboard. Threads, photos, red strings, names, maps. There was a pattern in the chaos. Every victim so far had been involved, either directly or in the periphery, with Project Ember. A black book operation that vanished from public record nearly 2 decades ago. But the ghosts of Ember were waking up, and someone, the silencer, was making sure no one lived to tell the tale. As Reyes stared at the map, one name pulsed at the center of it all. Caleb Wynn. Former field operative, off-grid for years, declared dead in 2009. But Eleanor had mentioned him, once, in a footnote. If he was alive, he might be the only person left who could explain what was happening. Or maybe he was orchestrating it all. Reyes didn't know, but she was going to find out, even if it killed her. Opening visual. A shadowy corridor in the Library of Congress. The hum of fluorescent lights. A lone figure digging through declassified files. What do you do when the truth doesn't just hide? It hunts? Detective Marla Reyes had spent weeks tracking anomalies. Encrypted communiques buried in defense archives. Mysterious deaths rewritten as accidents. And silent patterns of behavior that only a computer could spot. But this time, the trail led her not to a suspect, but a ghost story hidden within the U.S. government. It began with a note, typed, no fingerprints, delivered in a manila envelope to her apartment door. It read, "Visit the Rare Manuscripts Vault. File DRE 9981. The answer isn't new. It's ancient." She didn't hesitate. Reyes descending into the vault, guided by a trembling archivist. The file was thick with redactions, but one phrase stood out again and again. The silencer protocol. A cold wave swept over her. The silencer was no longer just a code name. It was a methodology. A centuries-old psychological warfare concept rooted in Cold War experimentation, MKUltra offshoots, and something even more terrifying. Silencing through memory erasure. Names once tied to conspiracy were now tied to this protocol. Reyes cross-referenced the file's footnotes to find its source. One led her to an old NSA black site disguised as a cold storage facility in rural Maryland. She drove through a thunderstorm, windshield smearing rain like tears. The building was abandoned, or so it seemed. Inside were rows of rusted refrigeration units. But they didn't store food. They stored memories, or more accurately, brain map data. Blueprints of minds that had been scrubbed, rewritten, and reconstructed. She booted one up. It started like a whisper. A shadow on the edge of a camera frame. A flicker in the surveillance footage. A man in a black coat and gloves stepping out from nowhere, then gone before the next frame loaded. Washington, D.C., 3:17 a.m. The city never truly sleeps, but this part of town did. The office buildings were dark, the crosswalks empty. But on one corner, at precisely 3:19 a.m., a single shot rang out. Brian Thompson never saw it coming. He was a lobbyist, A well-connected figure, charming, ambitious, powerful, and now, lifeless, slumped behind the wheel of his black Escalade, just blocks from the Capitol. The bullet went straight through the driver's side window, clean, precise, a kill shot. The police arrived within minutes, sirens slicing through the early morning hush. No witnesses, no cameras that caught the killer's face, no shell casing left behind. All they found was a single calling card, a red playing card, the ace of spades, taped to the dashboard. Within hours, D.C. was awake, but shaken. News of the murder swept through political circles before the public even knew what had happened. Phones buzzed, staffers whispered. Security was increased across federal buildings. But no one had answers, just questions. Who killed Brian Thompson? Why did they do it? And what did that card mean? Detectives tried to piece together the timeline, but it was like chasing a ghost. Brian had no known threats, no enemies that could be verified, no disputes that explained a cold-blooded assassination in a secure zone. And yet, somewhere in the footage, slowed down and enhanced by analysts, was that figure. Dark coat, mask, gloved hands, smooth, unhurried movements. Professional, like a phantom. Political assassination mystery, Brian Thompson murder, ace of spades killer, mysterious D.C. shooting, unsolved political crime, U.S. crime thriller, high-profile hitman case. Detective Marla Reyes took the case, sharp-eyed, no nonsense. She'd seen her share of cold-blooded killings. But something about this one felt different, calculated, scripted, as if someone wanted the body found, wanted it to make a statement. Reyes leaned back in her chair, flipping the card in her gloved hand, staring at the red-inked spade. It wasn't just a calling card. It was a signature. Somewhere in her gut she knew. This wasn't a one-time job. It was the beginning of something much, much darker. And whoever was behind it was just getting started. In the days that followed Brian Thompson's assassination, Washington, D.C. became a city on edge. Not the kind of fear bred from a foreign threat, but something colder, something closer, something that felt like it was hiding just behind every reflection in every glass window downtown. Each time, he came to the same conclusion. Whoever this was, they were invisible. Not literally, but practically. The cameras all missed him. The footage that did catch anything was always indirect. A reflection in a window, a shifting shadow, a gust of air disturbing a discarded newspaper. This wasn't just a skilled killer. This was a ghost. The red ace of spades wasn't just a flourish. Mercer knew it. He had seen this before, once, years ago, buried in a classified file from Europe. Paris, 2014. A diplomat shot from a rooftop at 600 meters. No sound, no warning, just a corpse in a car, and a red ace of spades taped to the glove box. He dug deeper. A dozen cases across 3 continents, all unsolved, all clean. Something didn't sit right. Thompson wasn't just a lobbyist. He was a broker, the middleman for powerful people who didn't want their names associated with dirty deals. And he was about to flip. Days before his murder, Thompson had requested a private meeting with a federal prosecutor. He never showed. But in his office, hidden behind a false drawer, Reyes found a flash drive. Encrypted. The kind of encryption used by intelligence services. She turned it over to Mercer, who had it decrypted within hours by a trusted NSA contact. What they found was damning. Evidence of secret payments, backdoor arms deals, names of politicians, current and former, tied to illegal contracts overseas. Thompson had been preparing to go nuclear. The only question was, who got to him first? He was silenced. You don't know how high this goes. Stop digging. Mercer and Reyes looked at each other. Neither flinched. They both knew the rules had changed. This wasn't just about solving a murder anymore. This was about exposing something bigger. And somewhere out there, the silencer was watching, waiting.